I'm back. That was just a very short, make sure I'm recording all that correctly thing. Speaking of, I should just one quick check or something. Yeah, everything's still good. Yeah, I think I'm gonna focus more on an art stream tonight. So let's. I could go with 2D, but let's make something 3D. So hide the camera, and we can just get rid of the lights. I'll be adding them later. Here's our starting cube, which it seems to be a bit of a meme or a joke, and Blender made you just delete it. The question is, what should I do? I have an idea there. For animated character for the sake of stupidity. Nope, let's go with subdivision of 1. And we want to get loop cuts on this. And right here as well. You want to get off, make sure to get all 3 of those loop cuts in. Make sure it's movable easily. Move on to faces. And what am I forgetting? Don't know. Legit don't know. Move on to bring these 2 up. And GG. And let's go back into faces and let's inset quite a bit. Oh wait, let's individual on. And then grab these 2. Grab, bring forward. You can guess what I'm making, you deserve a cookie. A bit. I'll bring a bit more. Extrude and scale inward. Wait, why am I doing that? Just inset it. It's like a slam moment that I was going for. Let's go with the edge select and bring this down a bit. Don't actually know what I'm going for this. This is entirely me just being an idiot. Sorry, gotta use proper words on the internet when talking in front of people. I'm being a doofus. Making an odd toad. Or frog. It really doesn't matter. Whichever one sits in ponds, there we go. I don't have a reference up for a toad, by the way. I'm just kind of doing this blindly out of my head to see if I can. Alright, I gotta add these. So, I want to make the limbs separate. It is somewhat disturbing to look at right now. That was some lag there in the program. Scale down, tab, grab X. Let's add a mirror here. Loop cut, loop cut, loop cut. Don't actually need to do that every time. I just like, yeah, you really don't need it for this one. Let's not. That's entirely out of habit at that point. I'm being honest, something in my brain just said, yeah, this looks like a toe, we're done. Don't know what to do next type thing. It's like why brain? Like, what was that? I should separate that by material. So this makes it so the front and back legs are different objects. They are not done, that's why they look weird. I should finish the body before I start making the limbs. Wrong button. That's not what I want to do. Yeah, that's not 100% correct, but I accept. I have proven I can make stupid things without a reference. Now someday in the future, when I can make non-stupid things with the same way, it'll be nice. Scale and run the X. Scale on the Y. A bit further. Let's grab this edge and bring it forward a bit. And let's hide the body real quick. Subdivide. Subdivide. It's fill to not fill. J for path. So we can make this a bit more round and make it look more like, yeah, that weird limbs in the body. I really should have thought of it beforehand before doing this. I would keep getting stumped. Like, what next? How do you make a toad? I don't actually know. Toads look off the top of my head. This is generally how practice for the things that I make go in Blender. I make something really, really stupid just because I'm like, I can. And then that's when the entire time being like, what am I doing? I have no idea how to do this. What is it? What does this thing look like? Why is it horrifying? Let's scale a bit on the x-axis, grab the edges and bring inward. And bring you up a bit more. Bring it a bit out on the x-axis to make it kind of more like, hey, we got our limbs. Ooh, yeah, I should bring a bit more forward there. Bring it a bit big. Totally a toad, yeah. I think it's gotta be brought out a little bit to get like that kind of like lumpiness of a toad. Toad shape. Toad shape. Let's see if it looks shade smooth. Horrifying. Let's save that. Or maybe I shouldn't have done that. Does that show up on stream? It does not, so it doesn't show the name of my files. They have a lot of open, like, incomplete projects in Blender. I really should finish at least one or two of them. I swear by the time I'm done with this, it'll look more than just like a weird toad. And the weird animation. Alright, I was... Nah. Sorry, I'm gonna inset these again. Trying to remember something. That is not how you do that. That is bevel. There's a way to make them round. I can never remember how to do that. Meh. So, add material. Toad leather. That is definitely not what it is, but you know, that's gonna be the main skin object. Beady eyes. That's what these two will be. Add one more for eye whites. And toad snapper. That'll be the mouth. Which will be these two. That is spelled incorrectly. That's a typo. I'm leaving it that. It's Toad Snapper. And, ooh. You know, oddly perfect, probably. Now electric mouse cheeks. This is 100% me just being an idiot at this point. Whites. Let's add in the legs the toad leather. Or toad leather. Let's jump in. Let's jump into some shading. Starting with the most important material of this. Dude, toad leather. Oh wait. Gotta be careful there. If you select this to switch your materials, you're changing the material and the position. So that'll mean like it'll change eye whites to toad leather or something. You gotta go in here, select it, and then go to the editor. Shader to RGB, because that's my favorite. Let's add the base green tone. See, it looks more like a toad right now. Not done, but you know, it looks like it. And decrease the roughness, actually. Make it shinier. And let's add a mix shader. Not mix shader. Mix RGB. That's the like what? No, that wasn't it. Color ramp. Why am I adding mix anything? Color ramp does mixing though. Color ramp. Give it a moment. Or not. What happened there? This is how I normally shade things. That purple means there's something wrong here with that. Why is the color ramp not working? That's how I normally do things. Alright then. That is confusing. That's a... Yeah, it is. What? What? I've got multiple models with the materials put together like that. What? Like, what on earth happened there? It's straight up not working. Where is it? Alright, I'm gonna save. I'm gonna check a different model that I know works, so. Let's check you. Let's go with the shading. Should be. Yeah. It's got color, shader to RGB, into a factor, into a surface. This is a working project thing, don't worry about it. I didn't change anything, so why? Oh, this is add shader. How did I not notice that was it? How did I not? I misclicked. Well, that explains that. That is also the wrong thing. How many misclicks am I gonna do tonight? That's why that didn't work, because that's not how it's supposed to work. Wait, wrong order. There we go. So let's add for the light color, so I ignore all the chaos that happened there. And for you, let's go with let's get rid of that. Linear, ease cardinal. No, it's constant I want, I think. No, it's not. You know, I'm not gonna add the color right. So what this does is it adds in. So let's go with this. What light does so you see this, you can add in for the material to make it so, say it's constant or linear, and the light will affect like the way it cheers up, but I don't know what's up with tonight and why it's having trouble getting it to work right. Probably because I just keep misclicking, but you know, I'm gonna let's go with you. I'm going to instead add a bit of subsurface color. It's a shiny toad. Let's increase the specular a bit. Just pretend that didn't happen. A lot of that chaos. That was just all my bad. Decrease the roughness, decrease specular on that. Just max out the sheen tint. Oh wait, that's the beady eyes, not the eye whites. So we want for that, just like, and let's max out the roughness on that. Put down the sheen tint and bring up the specular. Just really beady eyes. Maybe a little too beady. Now we go for the shader to RGB eye white thing with like the max out the sheen tint, basically bring down the roughness and specular. Add a little bit of clear to that. You don't really notice that much, but you know, eyes are eyes. Now for the toad snapper, let's give it first add shader to RGB. And remember to click the right one and add a bit of a light pink with some quite a bit of surface white. And let's go with our totally non-electric mouse cheeks. Make them a bit red. Shader to RGB. I didn't make them dark enough for the color I wanted. And let's increase roughness, bring it specular, and the sheen tint for those. He's a toad. It's a derpy toad, but it's a toad. I think that's everything shaded for this model. Why does it look like wrong button? Shade smooth. It looks unpleasant. I love it. I'll shade smooth later when it's done. So, if you want to give it mouth movement stuff, you have to split here, but I'm not making it open and close its mouth. So, for a cylinder, scale like up an absolute ton, scale down the Z-axis, and jump to edit mode. Let's first let's rename this. Toad Blob. The drumsticks. The gamey bit. The Toad. I'm running low on sleep, can you tell? Let's get rid of face. And select all. Let's bring it forward a bit. Just alright, I didn't say what I'm making. This is going to be a lily pad. So one thing to make that easier is to hide the toad. For the most part, be above. If you're directly above, it'll hide the grid, and that just makes it look into a giant white void. And I'm like, I can't see the edges. So just click without moving the camera. Make a few cuts for a lily pad. Everything's recording, right? Yeah, it is. And let's add a few, like for the sake of and 2 here. These are some of them are for the sake of creating creases. Let's see. And with that, let's go into faces, or where are the faces? And cut the ones that are supposed to be like this. Cut out the face. Cut out the face. Click egg select and grab here. Bring it down. Oh. Let's see. Let's add a subdivide for this and bring this over here. Now we can go here and bring it down a bit. Now let's some materials for that, making it a little more easier to see. And we can go here and cut out these faces, and it'll be a little more easy to tell that it's been separated. Fill that, just to do that. Like I said here, add a subdivide. Bring it over down. Edge select and bring it down a bit. This is just for the sake of, it won't be that visible, but it will show off some creases later. View selected, because sometimes when you're working for a while, the camera will not want to move as much as you want to. If you switch to view selected, it'll reset the position of the moving camera uses the tool. Do is probably oh yeah, that won't help. Add a few cuts along the just random cuts here and there to make it a little more trimmed the edges here. How long have I been? I'm gonna work a little bit more on the Toad, and then maybe I'll hop into Stardew or something, or should I just stick to just a pure art stream for the night? Difficult choice, because if I don't play some Stardew regularly, I'll never make it to the end game on stream. That is a long game. Just same thing with for Superland. Think I'm making a good deal in the story. Legit don't know. I've never seen the end of it. One more. Yeah, one more. Alright, let's get all these faces cut. That is the wrong face. A statement that in any other context is probably not a good thing to say. Probably better to add one here as well, since there's a bit of a gap between them. One or two. What's that, two? One there. I need to fix my posture when I'm doing this. I lean forward a bit too much and always end up being in pain afterwards. I mean working in Blender, not streaming. So we've got a bit of a lily pad shape here. So let's jump into shading for that. New. There's a pad. We'll want a darker shade of green than we had for the frog. The toad. And let's add a decent amount of subsurface for that. And add shader to RGB because I like the RGB more. And let's try shade smooth. Yeah, I'll do that later. And we got our toad and a lily pad. Our toad. Ah! That was painful. He's very beady-eyed. Shift D, click Shift Z so it only goes in the same height. Scale, Shift Z, scale Shift Z, so it go to. Actually, no, I should scale it while keeping the Z. Let's see, bring it there. Shift D, Shift Z. That is a lot. That was not what I meant to have. Let's bring you down a bit. Yeah, let's add a... Oh! Well, there was supposed to be an A in there, but... more fitting. You can name these things whatever you want, as long as it works as a way that you can say, hey, yeah, this is the object and the collection I wanted. Really doesn't matter what you name them otherwise. That was not the shift, that was the caps lock. Anyways, let's add in a plane and scale it up a bit. Grab it and put it just below everything. No, that was the... And scale it up, bring it down a bit more because it's a little too high. Tab and edit mode, and subdivide this thing a ton, which is not so ton. Select all, subdivide again. Like, just give it a bunch of these. Oh, look, that was a bit much. If you're doing ocean, then yeah, do that. But since I'm not, let's see, where is it? Not in the modifiers. No, that is displace. That's what I want. Let's decrease the depth of it, I guess, because it's... Oh, I can adjust that later. So that's how you made it. I'm not going to use the wave modifier for this, I guess. This thing never wants to cooperate with me. But you can use the ocean for that to create that. I think I'm thinking of something else. What am I thinking of? I can never remember what... Go straight up the wave modifier. So you might be wondering, why is it not doing anything with the wave modifier? Normally it gotta get to work like this, and I didn't get to work. I gotta use this thing more. It's like no vertex groups the entire thing. Failed to set value. What? I never remember how this thing works. Not the wave modifier. Just go with the decimate modifier, that works. No, it does not, because that's not a block. I'm just showing off how little I know how to use these things. Screw it, let's do the easier method. The sculpt mode. Just move into where are you? Inflate, which F to change the size, Shift F to change the strength. I think I made it too small. I did. I think I need to actually show the lily pads to be like, hey, yeah. Let's decrease the strength of it. So this will give kind of like a feeling of water. You can use waves, but I always get confused how to get that to work right. As shown by the fact that I completely screwed up and could not remember. I've used it before, I'm just gonna only use it like twice. You can't really see what I'm doing there, but it has an effect, I promise. Let's jump into object mode and jump to shading of this plane. Add its new material. I think adding fresco on the end of that would be made. Let's add shader to RGB because, as I said before, I just happen to really like what this does to stuff. Add a really light blue, like really faint blue color to it. We're gonna make this an alpha blend and add transmission. That is not a pleasant smell. And now it's... So surface IR affects the surface itself. Let's decrease the alpha on this to make it kind of apparent that it's, hey, water. Alright, let's add in a sun, I guess. Let's just kind of... So the sun can be anywhere and it'll still have the same effect, so... Well, the problem is, yeah. So yeah, let's get the angle right before we move it away. Let's go with that. Well, let's to make it easier to access, I'll bring the object up. And let's increase the strength to 20? No, that's too much. Let's try 10. Bring you down to, I don't know, 7 then. And bring... Transmission always, it never really works right when I'm using it. Bring down your sheen tint a bit. More specular. Let's make this different shade. This is the sun's angle a bit more. Let's go down to 5 and give it more of a natural light tint. Let's go with bluish, because blue tends to give a calming tone to things. That should do for that. If you can see, let's go with this and go to edge select and get all the edges. Extrude downwards. You can see you can actually see through it with this. So let's jump into this and let's let's fill that, and for this let's add a new material. So if you want to add a lot of details up to the bottom, you don't need to add material to it, but I refuse to give this anything more valid name tonight. You can go in with the sculpt mode as well, which is... You can see you can't really do anything because it's not subdivided. If you want to like sculpt this or add more details, you can, but I'm not. So my goal for the palm bottom is to make it like a really dark shade of... green, so it's barely visible, but... Or blue... No, let's go with green. Because this is more of a, for the sake of, hey! Let's edit that a bit. Not this. Because you can, like, you can't... I forgot again. Assign... Now we can edit the... I was like, why is it not working? The different material doesn't really make that big of a difference, like, because you can see it doesn't really... If we go to the shading, we can change the blue... let's change to object mode. Or I screwed up. We can go here and decrease the transmission roughness a little bit. And the off a little bit more, and then it should be easier to see the bottom of the water. The importance here is less of making the this noticeable. Although I do want it to have some impact. That I guess we add a little bit of an emission to it, should work a little better. I didn't mean to change the color that much there. If you do that, it'll be way too much. It's more of if I want to put something under the water. Something like... So normally the lily pads have like roots and stuff coming off them, like in reality, but I don't understand much for that if you don't want to for the sake of editing it, but I'm gonna add them. What if this playing right now? That's why the playlist ended, so it was like, hey, we're gonna play something similar and recommended. Thank you, Amazon Music. I don't want to risk getting copyrighted, so I'm gonna switch back to this playlist. I find new ones. All right, let's add a should we add a cone or cylinder? Let's go with cone. Cut it in half, the material on half. Go with this and grab down Z, and let's rotate it. I guess X. I want to X or Z, or X or Y doesn't matter. The point is to flip it upside down. And jump into edit mode. Bring it down a bit. Now, for the sake of this, so what we want is to scale inward so it's less weird. Extrude, scale, extrude, Z, scaled inward, extrude, extrude, scaled outward, extrude, scaled inward. Like just on repeat, like that. Give it a weird feeling. Rotate, give a bit of rotation, extrude, scale, grab up a bit, I forgot to do that before, extrude, up, let's grab, shift Z, scale it, grab, bring it up, extrude, scale, bring it up, extrude, move it over a bit. Let's bring it back a bit since it's a little too far forward. And yeah, maybe a bit too much of an angle. Extrude, scaled inward, extrude, bring it up, scaled inward a bit more, extrude, scaled outward, bring it up, extrude it up, about there. That looks weird now. It's not quite done yet. Add random loop cuts. And random place on the straightaway. As for Y, you'll see that it's to add more of a root feeling to it. You'll see in the second Y. That was the wrong command. And now jump into face mode. Extrude, kind of bring it out and scale it down. Extrude, bring it out, scale it down. Extrude, bring it down, out, scale it down. Extrude, bring it out, grab it, scale it down. I should really bring these for more of a erratic kind of feeling. Extrude, bring it up, bring it down, scale it. Just like, let's give it a few more. Extrude. Scale. It's like one more. That's the wrong button, let's rotate. One more over here. Extrude, bring it out, bring it down, scale it down. Which still looks weird, but here's the thing you can do, and you can go into add modifiers and smooth. Is it smooth I want? You can't really see how much the effect if you don't. And then let's try shading and doing. So what it's doing here is like adding a bit of a correction to it. Let's add a bit of a repeat. Just one, or just two? Just two. Yeah. And then scale the whole thing down. And add a material to it. Now we could give it a its own separate material, but the thing is, with the being under the water, the material will be barely visible in the first place. But yeah, Shift D, Shift Z, so it's, and then bring it under each of the lily pads. Oh, some of them are floating higher because the scale on the Z-axis I didn't stop them from doing. I'm gonna give it a kind of to the middle of each one. Yeah, in reality they'd also look differently, like if you were seeing real lily pads, like different angles and whatnot, but given that they won't be really visible that well, it's fine. There are some shortcuts you can take when making things. So because detail is good, but if it's not going to be a visible detail, why obsess over spending multiple hours and finishing it? Exceptions include things like details that are going to be visible to basically no one, but will still have an impact. Like adding very minimal amounts of shadows to some drawings will add an important change to them that you might want, but like other than you, no one's gonna see them. Consciously at least, because a lot of stuff in a drawing that is like, or a creation that you make that is like, why does it take so long to do this? No one's even gonna notice it. People would notice it's missing, even if they're unaware of it. They just won't notice its presence when you add it. So some details are a lot more necessary than you think because, well, they seem like not worth the effort you put into them, even though they're a lot more important than people think. Well, that was a ramble and a half with no proper organization to it. The things are more important than you think at times when you're drawing them because the absence of them causes disconnects. That's what I meant. Let's see, two more. And this is when I do something like make the object these bunch of objects one object instead of a bunch of different ones for the sake of my computer and the file. So I shall do that. So it doesn't like if you try to combine too many items at once. So I will generally go through, select 2 or 3, and then combine, which is Control J, and then add a few more. It changes the location. So make sure you're done with them before you do this. Is it changes the location orientation and a lot of, like, especially if you. Let's change. I'll change this one. It'll like change the origin and stuff of all the materials each time when you combine them into one. So it can make editing and moving them difficult, but it's fine in edit mode for the most part. Don't know what that name was, but I did it. Speaking of, let's just go through to. If you have a weaker computer and you're doing this, choose less items when you're doing it, like when you're trying to combine them. Because the more, like, when it processes the combining the objects, it also takes up quite a bit. It can cause it to crash. I had that problem on my old computer, which really couldn't handle a lot Blender for the most part. I could add more toads, smaller toads in the different lily pads rather than having the one. Trying to think what that next. A lotus flower, probably. Oh, I know. Jump to. I guess I can go with that. So I'm going to hide. Not hide it. Let's get rid of. Add the water cube. Let's add its own. Alright, it has to be visible for you to move objects into a new collection. $10 points to no one if they get that, because that should be a pretty obvious reference. Alright, let's add in a UV sphere. Actually, no, what am I doing? Actually, no, yeah. I don't use I don't use the sculpting much, so I don't have much, like, if you want advice on the sculpting system for detailed stuff, I'd have to practice it more and get back to you on that. I do use it for minimal stuff occasionally. Most of the time I will use the edit mode to do stuff. Like, what I'm about to do, I'd normally use the edit turn a cube into a sphere and stretch it like the legs on Tim Tam. But something you can do, which is nice for if you're trying to get a very simple shape, you can go to sculpt mode, grab snake hook, and turn the strength up before you do this. Grab the object, please. Well, that's supposed to be a tadpole, but it doesn't want to work because I forgot to add retopology. So I'm not going to do that. Let's go with my preferred method. I was like, I will show neat stuff up I don't have practiced. Because I'm streaming. Let's teach people. Why would I do it? Why would I even consider that? I don't know what I'm doing when I do stuff like that. One thing is, this is... Oh, let's, Let's see, and then scale it on the X, make it a little more flat. Bring it on the Y, bring it over on the X. Extrude. No, that's Alt, and then scale that in more, and scale it on the X more. Scale the Z more. A little more. Scale on the X. No. Selective edge I'm saying thing. Bring you out a bit more because I'm trying to make it more of a extrude. Well, that looked just horrifying. Maybe a bit too much detail there. So I'm trying to make a tadpole. Let's add a bit of a loop cut at the top. Do this for the sake of faces. Alt Z so I can see it. So one thing that's fun to do this is you can add that. Oh, I can see it. It's not there. Not there. Scale on the X. We got a tadpole shape. Let's scale that. Oh, nope. Scale. I actually hit on A. Comparison to the toad. Let's see how that looks. Still too big. There we go. And for your material, I'll just use. Scale the toad. Like, why not? Because when it's below the water, it's barely visible. There we go. That is the name I've chosen for the tadpoles. Let's hide the that's what it looks like in here with that when you don't have the outside influences. Yeah, weird, right? Let's probably end up having to change the material, won't I? Also, I just made those because I didn't affect the Z-axis. Yeah, let's change their material. Problem is when I do this, since they're... Oh wait, that's easy. Control J. That should be enough tadpoles just for the sake of being tadpoles. I accidentally hit... That's also the wrong... Let's... let's all... Plus new material. New... tags. Let's go into shading for that and just give them an emission of an absolute ton. Make sure there's an object mode, otherwise you can't see them. We gotta turn this thing's alpha down. But, oh wait, wrong thing. Transmission roughness, transmission up, down. But, a bit too much. So yeah, we can't see. So let's just get rid of the transition. I want the tadpoles to be barely visible. So let's... Oh, that's not working. Oh, it's because I haven't given them a color yet. Getting things to work under like the... And it's always awkward here. So you still can't see them. You can see them off from the side or certain angles, but typically can't see them from the top. I think it's the sun's angle. Nope, they're just not showing up. I don't work with the water enough, do I? Well, that doesn't work out too well. That's real, I'll fix it later. Let's see how the present progress is going. Yeah, they're present enough, I guess, for the sake of having them be. Yeah, I'll figure out that later. Oh, let's see, I haven't done that in a while. Let's see. Oh, I've been streaming. I haven't worked on this for a while. No, that's not what I meant to do. Didn't mean right click. What time is it? You know, should I do a little bit of Stardew or something just for like half an hour if I call the night there? Or work a little bit more on this? I can be very indecisive in a way. Yes, I'm aware the toad looks just horrifying. That is completely intentional. He gets creepier with the shade smooth. Let's shade these smooth while I'm at it. What happens if I shade this smooth? Makes it look weirder. I've not shaded smooth water blocks before. I've done like that. Maybe I should, yeah. So one thing you can do for, if you want to add a bit more water effect is select like a bunch of various faces, hit O to turn on this, which is proportional editing, which will bring up the things around as well. Be careful not to select things you don't want to. Yeah, let's give it more of a water feel by doing that. Right. I give it a little bit more water feel. Alright, let's for the sake of just for basic stuff while we're still checking it, let's change the world color a bit. That should make lighting a bit easier to check. Let's change the color though, that's not the color I was going for. There we go, they're more visible at the right angles if you have world color going. And if you shade smooth after you do that, it'll give the pond reflection for more so for the pond water. I've only got like one more thing to add for before the final render, I'd say, which is something I don't know if I should be trying to make blindly, but Let's add this into the towel group. Let's hide everything, not that, except the patty boys. Why is everything not visible? Alright, I have Alt Z going. Alright, let's add in. Let's add a circle. And scale it up to about this. Now we can add the patty boys. I mean, hide them. I forgot to do something about the circle, which was after adding it, decrease the vertices. Now I can, let's scale up to the other one. Just about. Get rid of the old one. Okay, and fill it just for the sake of filling it. And subdivide does not work right. Let's go with this. Yeah, what I want to do is probably this. And that wasn't the right one. Oh, that didn't work. That definitely didn't work. But you don't, this step is not 100% necessary, it just makes a lot of the easier movement stuff easier. Not easy, that is, yes, great brain. Good job thinking of proper grammar. I can English good. Now, I'm making the, what's it called? Lotus flower, or lily pad flower, whatever they're called. I think it's lotus. And I feel like this will make getting it movement later easier. And let's... Loop cutting does this, so it doesn't really do any good. It's like all, and then inset. And let's go with edges and just bring it up. Alright, I would, before I do this, I want to inset it multiple times. There are multiple ways to make different flowers for stuff like this, so I'm going with my odd one, which looks like Spider-Man's web right now. Which will be like, let's go with 2 for that. 2, and then let's extrude on the Z and adjust their angles afterwards. As I adjust the shapes. One of the nice things about using this method is to get the petal shape, I can just do this. Grab, pull it out a bit. Grab, pull out of it. Grab, pull out of it. Grab, you know what I'm gonna say, pull out of it. Grab. GG. Extrude Z. One about the same height as the other one, so up there. Problem is it'll influence the... Because... Oh, I got proportional editing on that. That'll mess with things a bit. I forgot to turn that off. Don't you... I always forget to turn that off whenever I use it. Strudzy. Strudzy. Bring it out a bit. Bring it out a bit. This is partially just practice for me at this point because I haven't made a lotus flower before in Blender. Let's go here. Extrude Z. Extrude Z. Extrude Z. A few more rounds of that. I think I'll adjust them. Should be I'll get them all up to their right height before I do that. Got 2 more layers of this. On Wednesday, I'll resume playing Superland, and don't know if I'll make it to the end game that night. I'm doubtful on that, because progress seems to be... Unless I'll get an ability or something that'll speed that up. And I will also, next time I stream Blender, work more on the next character model, who I haven't decided what I'll do yet. And in a few days, I should have the Tim Tam time-lapse out on YouTube. This weekend, same thing with the. If I finish this tonight, I'll also probably second have the Toad one out as well. Second guy stretch. Oh, that was a popping neck. A lot more practice working in 2D than I do 3D, which makes my choice to focus on streaming 3D art an odd one. The difficult thing about making stuff in Blender, especially if you're trying to make characters, is if you don't have your reference art prepped, whether you draw something yourself or not, or you're trying to make something another character from something, you're gonna have a difficult time with the understanding of 3D movement. I don't really. Or form. Don't know what the reason is. The fun thing is, if you're really bored and have a lot of time, you could remake the entirety of the original Toy Story in Blender, and probably with better quality. Not dissing the movie, I grew up watching that as well. But the tools they had back then, which they paid a ton of money to be able to use, do not even hold a candle to what Blender offers. Yeah, it's good. I guess so. Almost there. That is the wrong one. If I'm getting the lowest flower wrong, do tell me, because I'm trying to make this entirely from my brain without using references, which is against what I just said you should really be doing in 3D modeling, but I'm just trying to screw around to see what I can do from memory. And I'm choosing things that you can, at least they're not like 100% original. Flowers and toads are things you can look up and at least have some memory of. Trying to create a completely original character tends to get screwed up if you do it without a reference. Which is why I recommend drawing it first. Like I named this file animation, I haven't done any rigging or animation as of yet. And I'm like, should I animate it? The rigging process of things is not exactly fun. I mean, with a simple toad like that, I can just give it my K-rig and it'll be fine. Which I will not be adding tonight. I'm just gonna have to finish the full model tonight. Let's bring this up a bit. You'll see what I'm doing this in a second. Be able to get a good deal of form out of this combining by adding a solidify modifier, and then maybe duplicating and rotating with a different scale another one of the same thing. Should be able to get the full design I want out from that. Oh right, that's saved because I haven't had this for... Oh, I don't want all that work to be lost suddenly. Oh, I do not want to do that. Let's get rid of these faces. Add in a solidify modifier. Let's increase the thickness a little bit. See how it looks in front of the... What's it now? Good size. Let's see. Shift D, scale without on the Z-axis, and then rotate it. Scaling's not quite right. Let's. And let's add a material to these two. I should have added the material before doing that. Potato. I regret nothing. Add a shader to RGB. And a pink color with hints of a very let's just get everything, especially the where are you, Zelworld? Decrease specular, decrease the roughness, sheen tint. Let's add a little bit of a glow to it. Grab, Shift Z. Shift Z. Let's bring it over here. Oh, I think I put that in the wrong position then. Let's make that one object. I don't have a reason for that name, like in the slightest. Bring the camera back in, and let's select everything, but let's unselect the sun. Alright, let's select everything that's... hide these real quick, select everything, then bring those back in so we can scale it down to a tad. Oh, that's not in there yet. Because render distance and loading and stuff, it's better to have everything scaled down once it's done. Let's see how it looks from the perspective. Right, let's add in a plane. Where are you? Oh. Let's bring up its size a bit. Grab thing down. Material size, it's scaled up. Oh, like the plane. There we go. And a bit more. Minute mode, let's see which. Yeah. Two. What am I selecting at the moment? I don't think I'm on the edit mode for the material, for the plane. I am. Oh, yeah. Grab, Shift Z, let's bring it a bit closer. Yeah, there we go. Let's grab, Shift Z, bring it a little bit closer. Extrude Z. Now, let's get rid of edges. There we go. What you want to do is this, so it's one instead of two separate ones. we go. And that way we can do this and Control B to bevel it, and then add a bunch of segments to make it more of a weld curve. Let's try this. I'll add animation stuff later, but for now, let's see what it looks like rendered. Oh, I forgot one step. One step. Before I consider the setup done. I gotta jump out of edit mode. And for you, shade smooth. If everything else is shaded smooth, if I don't do that, then it looks bad. There we go. And pull that up. Let's see, so this is the present final render as state. Maybe animation in the future, we just have the toad moving, so while I haven't streaming. I suppose I could jump into how much of a pain would be to difficult would be to add should I add a lattice to it? Just get it done real quick. Oh, yeah, I kind of need to have that on so I can see them. So this is the lattice. It is used for some animation, but let's add a modifier to you for where's the lattice modifier? I can't remember where that is. There it is. Gotta apply this first though. Oh wait, this is not one object. Hold on. Control J. That looks fine combined. Now I can add the lattice modifier visit. Did I accidentally combine the... No, I did not. I forgot to go in and edit this lattice. So you'll want to have more than just one vertex. Since given what I want to do for the animation is just moving the toad's mouth up and down. That's it. And out, in and out for that. This is all I need. So since that's all I need, you can go into edit mode for the lattice, grab the vertexes, and it should move. Should be this one I want. Oh, is it this one? I did not have to combine the toads, the limbs, did I? But I want to anyways. It gives it more of a complete feeling. Which means in order to do this, I have to go into the toad and add a vertex group. that should be good for. Where's the? I can never remember. There it is. Add a vertex group. Assign. And then jump to here, vertex group. So that way if we go into the lattice and grab it, nothing moving is this. So let's, for the lattice, select all, and then go down to, you hit Control I, not. So for the last position, for the last position, location and rotation. Location, rotation, and scale. So you'll want to first, yeah. Location, rotation, and scale. And then for, like it 20, edit. Grab these. Seems the lattice isn't affected completely uniformly, but it should be fine since it's just a toe jaw. I just remembered what would make that faster and easier. If I turn on, that's so grab Y, grab X, grab X, grab Z, and grab Y. Now I want to bring it down a bit more. Bring it back a bit. And then here hit I, location, rotation, scale. Alright, I didn't do that right. I always forget how to, I don't use lattice for animation much, so that's annoying. Anyways, let's jump to you. For the bones for animation, it does this, but it's not location, rotation, and scale that I need. Which is a nuisance to say the least. And also in the first place, it's the lattice, not the toe, that I need to change. Let's say I put that there, and then I go to first. Then go to here, edit this. Oh, that was a toad I did, wasn't it? When you screw it up and you have to hit undo, it's always a lot of just like, Okay, delete. Thank you. Notification, rotations, scale, and custom properties, and let's go here. And tab. Make sure it works right before I go and, it does not. What am I doing wrong again this time? I'm always making some mistakes in this. That was it. Alright, I can just do this. So, chip key, and right, that's animation, not pro. What about let's add this for. That's not groups. I'm really bad at using the lattice. Because I only learned about the lattice more recently in comparison to the bones. Which I'll just do that. I have to grab, bring forward, edit mode, Shift D, or wait, Shift D on bring on X, and Shift D and bring on X. Bone viewport. Display as if now it's display as a stick, I suppose. And then go into edit, tab, Control P with empty groups. Let's see. Let's have you be. I forgot to name these. I should do that. Bone R L C. Now we can do that. So here's the normal bone one. Because if you go to pose mode, you want to be able to move it, but here's the thing, nothing. Right, if you hit the thing that will switch you through the modes, it'll just take you to edit pose mode. So go to edit for you. Oh wait. Do you have the proper parent set? Good. One groups, good. One's leather. I don't think this method works. I saw someone use it and I have never learned how to use it myself. And that was just dumb on my part. I think it's scale we actually want. Is the lattice not been did I disapply the lattice? I've disapplied. You know, I'm clearly tired. I'll get this working next time in a short bit or something. I just can't get this to work right. I gotta double check why why it's not working, why it is. I show that the final shape, and I can show that the toe map will move. I'll get that done and load it later, I guess. So I'm gonna just say at this point, thank you for coming and watching. Have a good night. Oh, looks like my connection is bad. Well, that's definitely a good time to call it if I'm dropping a lot of frames. Come check out the chaos I cause, whether it be through mistakes or through intentional chaos next time. Alright.